In 1977, a small factory in Colvin, Leicester got to work on something that would change the lives of countless people. Little did they realise that people were still caring enough 40 years later to sit and listen to a guy waffle on about that product. This is the Star Wars Toy Podcast.
Hello there. Yes, you're listening to the Star Wars Toy Podcast, and this is episode 32. I'm Darth Mac, and on this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about the X-Wing from the original 1978 up until the modern day, the Vintage Collection X-Wings. But before that, let's have a bit of this.
The Star Wars Tracker Report.
This is the market activity from the 1st of February to the 7th of February 2020, and there was 896 items sold for a total of £47,950. So as always, we start with the top 5 accessories. Number 5, we have an Imperial Cruiser. Ironically, as the new one is coming out very soon. Kenner Empire Strikes Back A Imperial Scene, which was sold in the United States for $393. And number 4, we have Clout City playset. Kenner Empire Strikes Back A playset with 4 figures. United States, $449. Number 3, we have a Jawa Sandcrawler. Kenner Loose, sold in Belgium for £360. That is the remote control version, which is very rare now, and especially in boxed, so that's why that is loose. And number 2, we have a 12-inch Boba Fett. Kenner Star Wars A picture box, sold in the United States for $980. And at number 1, we have the very rare 12-inch IG-88 Kenner Empire Strikes Back A. Only one known version of this packaging, and that was sold in the United States for $1,168. Somebody got a bargain there. On to the top 5 loose figures now. Number 5, we have a Chewbacca UKG-80, a glass light version, sold in the United Kingdom for £240. Number 4, we have a Blue Snaggletooth No Dent AFA-70, Kenner, sold in Germany for €341. Number 3, we have a Squidhead AFA-75, a little LED version, which was sold in the United Kingdom for £360. And number 2, we have a C-3PO Droids version, Kenner, sold in Belgium for £370. A lot of Belgium items this week. And there's another one here now. At number 1, a Vinyl Cape Jawa. That was Kenner. It was sold again in Belgium, as I said, for £510. And again, somebody got a very good bargain, and that's very cheap for a Vinyl Cape Jawa. On to the top 5 mint on card figures now. Number 5, we have an EV-99, Kenner, Power of the Force 92A card, sold in the United States for $455. And number 4, we have an Imperial Stormtrooper AFA-75 on a Kenner Star Wars 12C card, sold in the United States for $560. Number 3, we have Lobot AFA-85 on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back 41A card, United States, $610. Number 2, Lando Calrissian with teeth, AFA-85 on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back 41D card. And that was sold in the United States for $911. But at number 1, we have a Darth Vader on a Kenner Star Wars 12B card. Fantastic. And that was sold in the United Kingdom for £804. So that was your Star Wars tracker for this week. As always, head out to www.starwarstracker.com to get all your tracker needs.
Penny for your thoughts.
Until 1977, movies made most of their money at the box office, and any spin-offs were not worth that much. So when George Lucas was desperate to reduce the cost of bringing his vision to the screen, his offer to take a cut in the director's salary in return for the merchandising rights was valued at just $500,000. Star Wars was an unknown quantity, and it wasn't all that obvious that fans would want models based on its characters and spaceships. Because Lucas was keen to maintain a secrecy around the film, the licenses weren't put out for consideration until very late in the day. And when they finally were, just about every major toy company had declined the offer. Even Lucas was unsure of the potential, Interviewed by Rolling Stone magazine in 1980, he revealed, "I had a vision of R2-D2 mugs and little wind-up robots, but I thought that would be the end of it." Finally, just 6 months before the May 1977 release date, Lucasfilm and Kenner, a relatively small manufacturer from Cincinnati, Ohio, signed an initial agreement to produce toys linked to the new movie. Kenner had taken a chance on the Star Wars license largely because of the enthusiasm of senior product designer Jim Swearinger, the man who had read the script when it was casually passed around the office a few months earlier. At the time, he recalls, it was kind of like, does anyone want to look at this? A sci-fi enthusiast and fan of Lucasfilm's THX 1138, Jim saw the potential and passed the script on to one of his bosses, the vice president of Primula Design, Dave Okada, and then on to a head of the company, Bernie Loomis, formerly of Mattel, for whom he had created the iconic Hot Wheels model car brand. Loomis saw the toyetic potential of Star Wars and would help the guide to the franchise and the Kenner itself to enormous success. The design of the first 3 3/4 character figures fell to Swearinger, along with the vehicles, which it agreed should include the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter. Speaking to the Netflix series The Toys That Made Us, Jim remembers the challenge that faced the small Kenner design team based in the 11th floor of the unassuming Kroger building in downtown Cincinnati. If we're going to do this, how are we going to do the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters? We didn't have any blueprints or drawings or anything. We had a couple of photographs, so we're modelling things based on a kind of a rough idea of what things are going to look like. The initial plans had to be done from black and white photographs provided with the script. Fortunately, in an arrangement that set a pattern for the rest of the Kenner Star Wars toy development, Jim was able to get back to Lucasfilm and ILM and compare his work with the drawings, photos, plans, and some of the original models. With little over 3 weeks to go to release, Swearinger had even able to attend the marketing screening of Star Wars and the press showing the next day. Armed with this feedback, the Kenner designers refined the plans by hand. As there was no CAD computer-aided design help in those days, the drawings were then turned over to the prototype construction teams on the floor below, who carved moulds from hardwood, such as mahogany, and they used to create vacuum-formed sections from which parts could be made to assemble prototypes for approval. By the time the film came out in May, the first batch of action figures were ready to turn over to production, along with the X-Wing, TIE Fighter and Luke's Landspeeder, which were the first vehicles, but it wasn't until 1978 that finished toys went out to an eager international audience. The X-Wing and TIE Fighter appeared on the back of the packaging for the action figures, which helped to make them highly sought after. They retailed in the US for about $15, but exactly which version of the X-Wing a Star Wars fan got when they opened the box would vary depending on where they were in the world, and the Star Fighter would go on to have more variants for collectors to hunt down than pretty much any vehicle in the series. Now you might think, why have I gone through the story of the toys again? But I just thought it might be a bit of a background and maybe a reminder of why we got 3 3/4 figures in the first place. That is the X-Wing. That was the article I just read out from the D'Agostini artwork that you might see on my YouTube channel that I've been building. And they were talking about Kenner and the X-Wing that came out from them. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, the X-Wing and the different versions that we've got over the years. So first off, I'm going to start off with the Kenner 1978 X-Wing. It's the first vehicle that I ever received. I think I got it for Christmas one year. I think it was the Empire Strikes Back version I got with the battle damage stickers. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. So the 1978 version came in a red box, also saying Star Wars, with the silver racetrack going round all around the box. And you'll notice in that article it did mention which version you'd be getting. Obviously the Kenner version had the lights and sounds. It had a little button at the back behind R2-D2, and it had a little red light at the front. The sound, I had the Kenner version later on, and the sound is atrocious. A bit like the Millennium Falcon sound. It's not very good. If you had the Palitoy version, you weren't missing much, as it didn't have the sound or the light, but it did have the press down R2-D2 to make the wings go into the X attack formation. It also had the plastic cockpit that you could open up and put any figure you wanted in there, but it was going to be Luke Pilot, wasn't it? Obviously. That was the only pilot figure we had at the time. And unfortunately, the model itself was quite stumpy. The body itself wasn't quite as long as it should have been. But it was a great toy, and we had hours of endless fun with that. As I mentioned, the Empire Strikes Back box version came with extra battle damage stickers. Now, you'll probably find these still unattached on vintage ones these days, as a lot of people didn't like those stickers. I used mine, I quite liked them, to be honest with you. Now, the box for the Empire Strikes Back version was firstly the same as the Star Wars box, a bit redder, but then it was later on changed to the Dagobah scene, which included Luke in the cockpit, R2-D2 and Yoda stood at the side of the X-Wing, and the X-Wing is in attack formation, even though it's landed. And then there was a third Empire Strikes Back box for the battle-damaged stickers, as I mentioned earlier, and that has the similar type of Dagobah scene. The X-Wing is the opposite way around, and this has Ben Kenobi in with it as well. That box was also used again for the Return of the Jedi line. There are, of course, other X-Wings in the vintage era. We had the Takara X-Wing, which was silver, and it doesn't look a lot like the X-Wing. It's very good though. I'd love one of those myself. And there was, of course, the small-scale diecast X-Wing. And there is another, as Yoda once said, and this one is very sought after, and it's the Micro Collection X-Wing. And that did have a great battle damage feature where the nose broke off. A bit like the speeder bike. I don't know which one came first. But then, of course, we got the dark times when nothing came out at all except for Bendham's. I may talk about them sometime, I may not. But it wasn't until 1995, when the Power of the Force 2 line came out, that we got a retooled X-Wing. And this is when we in the UK finally got electronic lights and sound from our X-Wing. It was based on the same mould, slightly different. I mean, the X-Wing hasn't changed at all through the first 8 years or so of the vintage X-Wing. The laser cannons had gone from black to grey, and the stickers were now red 5 instead of red 3. We had two different boxes for this. The US version had the lasers firing, and the EU version didn't. On to 1998, and we're still in the Power of the Force 2 line, but this was the first time that Hasbro had produced an X-Wing that was not based on the Kenner's 1978 mould. This version was larger and more in scale with the 3 3/4 line. It actually featured lines of dialogue and sound effects, mostly from New Hope and the Trench Run. It also had light-up features, such as a targeting computer as well. The Luke and R2 figures were affixed to the fighter and could not be removed, and the vehicle featured a handle underneath for an easier grasp during play. On to 2002 now, and an Empire Strikes Back version of the X-Wing. The new release of the larger scale X-Wing mould was done by Toys R Us, and featured a significantly retooled version for the previous A New Hope release. The handle was eliminated, as was the affixed figures. Now, the R2-D2 figure included in this set was a proper action figure, and can fit in and be removed from the droid socket. That's more like it. The cockpit was altered, and the targeting computer was removed. This version was also repainted to resemble Luke's landing on the swamp world of Dagobah, and included a few items Luke needed to survive his search for the certain Jedi Master. On to 2004 now, and we get in a Red Leader X-Wing fighter Death Star Trench version. This again was done by Toys R Us, and this time they chose to base it on the doomed Rebel Leader from New Hope. Red Leader's X-Wing is the simplest repaint of the previous Episode 5 release, and the interesting thing to notice is that the Toys R Us sold this set for $10 less, and only 3 removed accessories. Appearing to own the exclusive rights to Hasbro's larger X-Wing mould, Toys R Us released a third version in 2006. One would assume they were not happy with the earlier versions, as they revisited their own Dagobah Decor release and added some extras. For $15 more, this time, the collectors received a repainted Luke figure, the new Dragon Snake creature, and multiple sections of snap-on plastic Dagobah moss. No new changes were done to the mould, making it a simple repaint. On to 2009, as Target stole the reins of this mould from Toys R Us and offered Wedge and his first X-Wing fighter. The $5 extra were more likely added to for inflation. This set included about the same of the previous one, 2 figures and accessories. And of course this version has a unique decor as it's repainted to resemble Wedge's Red 2 paint scheme. On to 2011 now, and wanting most likely to follow with the success of the release of the Rise of Boba Fett Ultimate Battle Pack from the year before, Toys R Us included their favourite exclusives in a new battle pack for Christmas time, Death Star Trench Run. In this set, collectors received a repainted Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, 3 figures with a vastly improved X-Wing fighter. Luke's X-Wing underwent significant retooling for this release and is now included as a completely new and redesigned cockpit, which features the return of the targeting computer and a removable dashboard. It also features a new fuselage section with a hidden spinning torpedo launcher, a retractable front landing gear with hatch, storage compartments and new detailing. This X-Wing is by far the best possible version released to date and made the large price tag worth the expense. Summer 2013 brought Star Wars action figures collectors their 7th version of the larger scale X-Wing mould and Toys R Us 5th outing with the Starfighter. Despite not having its name on the packaging, Biggs Darklighter would now climb aboard his Red 3 X-Wing. This version continued the use of the superior updates made in the Death Star Trench Run Battle Pack, but with Biggs deco in place of his childhood buddy Luke's. The issue many collectors have voiced in this release is the inflated price for just the one vehicle, which is the first time ever includes no extras. This set appeared to be catering for the nostalgic fans that were willing to pay a premium price to see new ships packaged in the vintage collection boxes. And if you own all those, you have 3 distinct molds of the large-scale X-Wing, 4 different X-Wings, Red 1, 2, 3 and 5, 1 generally released version and 5 exclusive versions sold by 2 different retailers, 9 normal action figures and 2 fixed ones, and if purchased at retail, you have now spent $375. There was of course the 30-inch Hasbro X-Wing that came out, which was just a lump of plastic really. There are no features to it. And at 30-inch, where are we going to put it? In 2015, Force Awakens came along, and we got Poe's X-Wing, which was equally as shocking. I remember a lot of people complaining about the laser cannons being bent and not being able to be put back in shape. And of course, we have the new vintage collection, Poe's X-Wing, Luke's Red 5 X-Wing, which came out last year. But going on to other properties now, the X-Wing appeared in 4 Micro Machine 3-packs, including the first Star Wars pack released, a bronze version, and a pack of 3 battle-damaged X-Wings with different coloured markings. The Micro Machines X-Wing has also been released in 2 single packs as a promotional souvenir with German video releases, and a 9-pack of original trilogy vehicles, and once in clear plastic. The X-Wing appears 8 times in the Micro Machine Action Fleet toy line, Luke's Starfighter on its own, with a targeted stand, with Dagobah Swamp damage, and in a double pack with a TIE Fighter, Wedge's Starfighter on its own, and as a component of the Yavin Rebel Base playset. There was also a toy based on the prototype packaging with Big Darklighter's Starfighter and Jegged Porkins Starfighter. On to another toy producer that has created a lot of X-Wings, and indeed their very first model was an X-Wing, and that's Lego. And since 1999 there have been over 10 X-Wing models created, not including Microsects or Micro Fighters. And I'm going to go through a few of the best ones now, obviously starting in 1999, and this is the very first Star Wars Lego set that ever be released. And the front page star of the 1999 Lego catalogue came along with 263 pieces, 4 minifigures and a fun comic book with alternative builds. The pieces were all printed and required no additional stickers to be added to the model. This Lego X-Wing featured a utility train, which was used to shuttle pilots. The main fighter build had 2 storage compartments located on the front of the ship and behind R2-D2. The 4 minifigures included were the Rebel mechanic, R2-D2, the astromech droid, Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber included, and Luke's childhood friend from Tatooine, Biggs Darklighter. A year later, in 2000, the X-Wing 7191 was released. It was first of two Star Wars sets within the Ultimate Collector series. It came with 1,304 parts, a scale model of R2-D2, a stand for the X-Wing, and a description card. The wings of the fighter could shift between attack and rest position to boast a 20-inch wingspan. This being a collector's set, the details are immaculate and renders the model worthy of display in any household. In 2002, the 7140 model, the original one, was re-released, and it had no variations. On to 2004, we have the X-Wing Fighter 4502. This model was the only one to depict Luke's crash on Dagobah, as to include the Yoda minifigure from The Empire Strikes Back. It consists of 563 individual pieces, 3 minifigures, and Yoda's hut. The 3 minifigures are Luke, R2-D2, and Yoda. The Luke minifigure is considered very special because he's in his Dagobah training clothes. A minifigure only available in this set up until the recent release of the 2018 Yoda Hut set. The actual fighter features a gear that allows the wings to move up and down, plus it is the only model to include swamp algae for improved accuracy. Yoda's hut comes with his bed, a glass, and several secret compartments. This X-Wing model is remarkably unique and as such is very valuable. A must-have for any serious enthusiast or collector. In 2006, we have the X-Wing Fighter 6212. This release of the X-Wing Fighter includes 437 pieces, 6 very well-known minifigures, and the interchangeable pieces of you're allowed to switch between 2 different X-Wings. The minifigures are Luke Skywalker, Wedge Antilles, Han Solo, Leia, Chewbacca, and of course R2-D2. The interchangeable pieces are specifically panelled that allows you to switch between Luke's Red 5 and Wedge's Red 2. Unfortunately, there are 2 major inaccuracies in this set need to be addressed. The issues are Wedge's fighter is depicted as Red 3 instead of Red 2, and Leia's hairstyle is from her wardrobe from Episode 4, while her body is from the Rebel base on Hoth in Episode 5. The number of memorable characters included in this model are very exciting, but the inaccuracies in the detail reduce the value. On to 2012 now, and we have X-Wing Starfighter 9493. This LEGO X-Wing Starfighter comes packaged with all kinds of additional features and special characters. It has 4 minifigures, adjustable wings, landing gear that retracts, functional cockpit, and proton torpedoes. The gear that adjusts the wings is much easier to operate than in previous models. The proton torpedoes are not regrettably flickable ones, but are still a wonderful addition to the set, and the total length of the X-Wing measures just over 12 inches. The 4 minifigures included in this set are Luke, R2, Jed Porkins, and R5-D8. And this is the only time the minifigure Porkins appears in a set. This is an awesome build of an X-Wing and includes so many additional features and unique characters, and it would be lucky to have this to add to their fleet of Star Wars ships. On to 2013 now, and my personal favourite is the Red 5 X-Wing Starfighter 10240. Another addition to the Ultimate Collector series, this Starfighter boasts immaculate detail with 1,559 pieces, a display stand plus info card, and the ever-present R2-D2 minifigure. The newly developed joints and pieces that have been created for the set make this the most detailed X-Wing yet. The model does have a cockpit that will open, and the adjustable wings are controlled by a gear at the back. The LEGO pieces are not printed, so a steadily hand for applying the stickers is required. LEGO had improved the overwhelming colour scheme from the previous model, but some collectors felt that they needed to paint it completely grey. This is another incredibly detailed model that will make any collector very happy indeed. In 2015 we got Poe's X-Wing Starfighter 75102. The main feature of this X-Wing stands out from the rest as it is uniquely coloured of a Halloween shade of orange and black. This is also the first X-Wing model released as part of the Force Awakens line, significant the end of an era in the Disney LEGO Star Wars. This model contains 717 pieces and includes a spring-fired proton torpedoes, and a cockpit is printed unique to this set. The gear system that shifts the wings into attack mode has also been moved to the back of the fighter. The 4 minifigures that accompany this X-Wing are Poe Dameron, BB-8, a Resistance X-Wing pilot, and a Resistance ground crewman. There is also a utility train, like the original set, for performing maintenance on your X-Wing. This is a wildly iconic X-Wing set because of all the drastic changes to the status quo, make it a very exciting build. Then on 2016, we had the Resistance X-Wing fighter, 75149. Another drastic colour change from the original X-Wing design leaves this spacecraft looking blue, literally. Now this is the exact same core design as a Poe's X-Wing with the 740 pieces and some exciting changes into the build. The major adjustments to the base model of this X-Wing are a removable hyperdrive located near the rear of the craft. Instead of another utility vehicle, a collapsing moisture evaporator where flames pop up when it goes down is included. The minifigures that included are Poe Dameron, Lawson Tekker, First Order Flametrooper, BB and BB-8. Poe and Lawson Tekker have double-sided heads to display different emotions, and the Flametrooper comes with a rifle that has flames coming out of it. This is another creative builder from a new era of Star Wars LEGO sets, and it will have you burning with excitement to assemble it. 2018 saw another X-Wing Starfighter, 75218. This is the largest installment of the X-Wing series, released of August 2018, and it's also included the most features to go along with it. LEGO pays homage to the original X-Wing model, designed by returning the traditional grey and red colour scheme. This also includes 3 familiar MIDI figures from the original model as well, and 1 new MIDI figure to add to the excitement. The added features of the X-Wing are huge and include a new lever system to adjust the wings in attack mode, a fire extinguisher behind the cockpit seat, and stud shooters at the side of the craft. A cockpit that opens and retractable gears are now a standard on all recent X-Wings, and the trend will continue for all new sets. The 3 familiar minifigures are Luke Skywalker, R2-D2 and Big Starlighter, and a new addition to the crew being another droid named R2-Q4. This set does require stickers to be applied for decoration. It allows you to switch between Luke's Red 5 and Biggs' Red 3. This is newest addition to the X-Wing product line, thus making it readily available for purchase, and it doesn't hurt. It is jam-packed with new and exciting features. And finally, we have the brand new Poe Dameron's X-Wing fighter, 75273. With a whole new design and a brand new Poe's X-Wing, is completely different to any of the conventional X-Wings used by the Rebellion. This X-Wing, the T-70, used by Poe Dameron in Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, not only sports a brand new colour decor, but it also has changed in terms of design. This X-Wing has larger engines, which split when the wings are open, and it makes a different build than you may be used to utilising different types of bricks. The minifigure selection includes Poe Dameron himself, Jenna, one of the Knights of Ren, and R2-D2. The new style LEGO X-Wing is a new building experience and includes some pretty cool play features. The ship itself is swooshable, I don't know what that is, and there is an easy to access lever which controls the S-foils. The slot for the droid can fit an R2 unit as well as a shaped droid such as BB-8. It also includes both spring-loaded missiles, stud shooters for extra battle experience. And the set includes a printed cockpit, also makes use of a sticker. Now the X-Wing has also appeared in numerous Star Wars games and expanded universe stories. The player pilots an X-Wing in Atari's Star Wars game. It is also a playable ship in numerous LucasArts games, and is an eponymous vessel in the first of the several space combat simulator games. Both the Rebel Assault and Rebel Assault 2 rail shooters include X-Wing levels, and X-Wing squadrons are controllable units in Rebellion and the Empire at War strategy games. Decipher and Wizards at the Coast publish X-Wing and X-Wing related cards for the Star Wars customable card game and Star Wars trading card game, respectively. Michael A. Stackpole and Aaron Alston wrote the X-Wing novel series that focuses on the X-Wing pilots of Rogue Squadron and Wraith Squadron. The former expanding the story of pilots like Wedge Antilles, who appeared in the films. Dark Horse Comics had also published an X-Wing Rogue Squadron series, and in 2012, Fantasy Flight Games released a Star Wars X-Wing miniature game, featuring several pilots and variations of the ship. The X-Wing is also included in its Star Wars Armada miniature games and Star Wars Rebellion board game. So there you are. You're up to date on the very comprehensive X-Wing list. Hey, I'm sure I've missed some out, and if you have got a favourite X-Wing that I have missed out, please let me know. And also let me know which is your favourite. I think my favourite is obviously the vintage Kenner Palitoy. I had the Palitoy one. X-Wing and, as I say, the Red 5 UCS Lego version. And Lord only knows what is in the future for the X-Wing. Maybe we'll get that Black Series. Imagine how big that is going to be. The TIE Fighter was massive. But if we got the X-Wing as well, I think that must be coming. And as I said at the beginning, I am building the De Agostini Partwork X-Wing, which is massive. I've done a wing, and I can imagine 3 more of them, and it's going to be absolutely gigantic. If you want to see me build that, go over to my YouTube channel. All the links in the show notes. And that, I think, will just about do it for this week. There's not a lot of exciting news out there. There's a few Black Series coming out, but I will tackle those next week, or maybe the week after, because I've got a very nice interview coming up next week. And it's the New York Toy Fair the week after, so I will need to be talking about that. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like and share it out to your friends and all the Collect community. Have a look at that Patreon, because I really want to build that X-Wing. And I'm started building the Ecto one as well, so I could use just a little bit of help. Anyway, get out there and get yourself some nice vintage figures, and maybe buy yourself an X-Wing. And until next week, may the toys be with you.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend, time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.
And also a playable ship in the numerous LucasArts games.